Hi everyone, so DaVinci Resolve 16 is finally out. Last week we had a stream going over a couple of the new features that are out, as well as a little bit of information that was kind of difficult to understand. So this.
Now we're doing something a little bit different here than what we normally do. What we're going to do is we're going to actually announce, we're going to announce the final release of DaVinci Resolve 16.0, and we've got a bunch of nice updates launched recently. It's been in public beta up until now. A briefing and sort of explain. Now, the reason we need to complete this update is because DaVinci is obviously a Hollywood tool. We're going to show you today. By large.
Pretty much what they're saying is that there's going to be two versions of DaVinci Resolve. In the software industry, you sometimes have these things that's called like full release or a stable release, and then they have something else that they refer to as like a nightly. And pretty much what that means is that the one that isn't the stable release is constantly getting updates. Some of the updates that are introduced sometimes makes the software not that stable on certain machines, but what the nightly does is it allows a lot of people to try a whole bunch of new features or enhancements to see if it works on a broad group of people's machines, and then from there they figure out what works, what doesn't, what has to be tweaked, what bugs they have to try to fish out and remove. And then whatever ends up being stable and it has been working over time without a lot of people stating issues, then gets put to this full stable release. It's just a more stable version that most up-to-date machines should run pretty flawless on. So that was kind of one of the things that they were trying to explain, but it was very difficult. So you're going to have DaVinci Resolve 16, which is going to be that stable release. And then they're going to have DaVinci Resolve 16.1. The weird thing here is when they had any of the other like point something instead of like 15.0 point whatever, they normally had it down in the bar so that you could identify what version you were on. It just says 16 down there, but now I have the beta tag back. So just another hurdle to go through when I'm offering support, but it is what it is, and looking forward to whatever continuously new updates that come and new features that they're going to try. Like I said, new features and stuff that they're going to try. I wish there was more features outside of this cut page, but the cut page is their new baby. They introduced this thing here, and I can show it to you. It's called the boring detector. Pretty much what that means is if you take any JayAreTV video and you put it in here, you're going to see this boring detector go off. No, what it really means is it's just a way to show you if you have a cut that lasts for whatever your parameters are outside your parameters. So if you want the majority of your cuts to be anywhere between 2 and 7 seconds, anything that's outside that, it's going to light it up, so then you'll be able to see it on this cut page, because this cut page is supposed to be all about speed. So any visual enhancements that will make things apparent to you, that's what they're trying to do here. It's still not something that I can use, and it's kind of difficult because they have titles on here, but you can't see the inspector. So even their own Fusion titles you can't edit here. But if you watch the videos where they were introducing the cut page, they were using these titles in here. I don't know.
Access and apply the most popular video transitions, title templates, and effects from the top of the media pool. In the Titles library, professionally designed 2D and 3D title templates can be added and customized to add drama and excitement to your project.
At some point, they have to enter it in, but this page is mainly all the different updates that they're adding to it. It's just giving you visual cues of whatever that particular thing is. So like you can see here, this is like one of the first animations that I seen outside that cut when it would like slip in and slip out. I thought that was pretty slick. I made a video, if I can find it, I'll show it to you. But now this here, it's stating that if there's an interaction, like a cut interaction, or if you're doing an insert interaction, that's where it's going to be. So if you have a bunch of cuts whichever is closest to your playhead, it's just going to show you those arrows where an insert operation is going to be placing it. So you don't have to have your playhead right on that point. But yeah, curious to see what they end up introducing in here, and if there will ever be any features that will make me jump to this cut page outside of the edit page. In the past, I've kind of spoke like I didn't really understand it. I still can't see how I would use it, but now that they're introducing all these different visual cues, I could see how someone could start to wrap their head around using this cut page to really, make it visually apparent that something's going on. Either it's where you're going to insert, if a current cut is too long, or whatever it may be. But that's kind of what they added there, and that's the majority of what they were talking about in the stream. They were also talking about new hardware. They have hardware for DaVinci Resolve, as well as they have a new 6K camera. If you haven't heard about it, go take a look at it. If you like the form factor of the Pocket Camera series, then you're going to like that 6K version of it. But the other thing that they introduced into DaVinci Resolve, which they didn't really talk about, there was one post that I seen about it, and I posted about it on my YouTube channel community section, I think it's called, is that now you can do monitoring without the monitoring hardware. So they were talking about in the stream about new hardware. Now, I will say this, the whole pitch of the hardware is to get extremely accurate results to whatever your reference monitor is. That's why they made that hardware. That's what that hardware is supposed to do. Now, a lot of people for a long time have been asking for something to be in there so that if they don't have that hardware, maybe they're only working on a laptop and they need something that's going to be full screen that they can see. Well, now they introduced it. When they launched DaVinci Resolve 16 full stable release, it was just now, this is when it was added. So pretty much if you come into Workspace and you come down here, it says full screen viewer on. So I have two monitors and I can push it to one of the other monitors and it will be a full screen of whatever is over here in the reference monitor. It's pretty cool. When you go to the edit page, you get a full screen of your edit. If you go into your color page, you can color off of it. But like I said, the reason why they have the dedicated hardware still is because of the possibilities of something changing the way in which the color works. Now, I haven't been able to talk to anyone on this. I don't know if there's a way in which that they're pushing to the display that bypasses any of that, or if it's even possible. But those are some things to take, into consideration. I know that some people have that color cast thing where it goes from the blue to the yellow light and so forth. Like that might mess up on your secondary monitor. They haven't really talked about it much. There was one post, like I said, on the forums. Other than that, I really haven't heard much about it. But I did want to let you guys know about it because it is pretty awesome. Now for the edit page, there wasn't a lot of stuff that was like showy, that was like a whole new feature or anything. But if you're still on DaVinci Resolve 15 and you're coming to 16, you will see a very big noticeable improvement on performance when it comes to Fusion titles. If you have a Fusion clip that comes over and it needs to be cached, all of that, big improvements. But the caveat that I'm going to say here is I know a lot of the people in my community are on the free version of DaVinci Resolve. Perfectly fine. But if you have the free version of DaVinci Resolve and you have a computer that is underneath the minimum requirement specs for Fusion and DaVinci Resolve, you're still not going to see a huge improvement just because the hardware isn't there. From my understanding, the caching, it has been enhanced. It works a lot better. But if you have a computer for video editing and it is within the specs that they're recommending, and it's even better if you're on the studio version, you're going to be very delighted going from 15 to 16 and seeing the performance enhancements for all of the Fusion stuff. If you're going from 15 to 16, remember, just like all the previous versions, it is a free upgrade, so you don't have to be concerned with getting another key for your DaVinci Resolve Studio. It is a free thing, so just download it off the website, use your same activation code, and you're good to go. A lot of people, even in my emails, say, "Oh, I don't want to upgrade. I can't afford getting a new one right now." I'm like, it's free. I guess they don't really, talk about it. I mean, they do say it, but maybe some people just don't watch those videos or whatever. But yeah, it's a free upgrade path. So it's another food for thought. If you're, coming from the Adobe suite, you pay it once, and I forget when it started, but it started a long, long time ago, that every update has been free, a free update. So yeah, that's another thing to think about if you want to look into Studio. For the longest time on my channel, I've wanted to, anyone that was in DaVinci Resolve, I wanted to, promote using the free version. Everything I've done on my whole channel has been all around the free version. I've never talked about any of the stuff that was in the Studio version, but it's a double-edged sword for a couple of reasons with me doing that. But yeah, the upgrade path, and I want to start promoting people to look into getting the Studio version if it is something that is possible for you, because you will see a lot of improvements. And you buy the activation code once, or you get one of their new cameras, and you can continuously keep using that. So that is something. Caveat that I will say is, don't go on to eBay and buy any of the dongles, because last year there was a lot of fake dongles that were out there. During Black Friday, there was some company that was able to sell on Walmart.com, and they had fake dongles that they were selling for $12. And yeah, so there's a ton of fake dongles out there. They've since been removed from the Walmart. But yeah, just wanted to let you know about that. There was a lot of stuff within Fusion that now my products are going to be taken advantage of. So I really wanted to show these. I want to show off the new products that I've been working on. And if you stay to the end, if you've read the title, there's also going to be something, if you do like any of these, that you'll be able to take advantage of for the first week of me posting this video. So the first week that DaVinci Resolve 16 is being live. So there's that. So let's jump right into it. I made 4 products. So here are all 4 products. One of them I've had on my site for a little while. So I'm going to go over the other 2. So the first one we're going to go over is a smaller pack. It's a pack of 8 different titles, and this is more of like a glitch title thing. It's called Spectre. You can also search glitch because it's in the name. Let's just bring one down. And in this title, you can see you have a main title, a subtitle, and then an accent color, or accent colors. And the accent colors, so here's the main title and the subtitle. The accent colors are just these different elements that come out periodically throughout the title itself. Let's see if I can find it, because it's just a few frames here and there throughout the whole thing. Let's see, so there's one. And then the other one is just a bunch of boxes. So there are the boxes as well. So they come on and off. The cool thing about the new titles, at least the new titles that I'll be creating, is that you can pull the end of them and they will automatically grow in length. And that end animation will now get moved to the end as well. I had a couple of dynamic titles in the past, but they were very difficult to create. They took a lot of extra stuff to create them. So I just stopped kind of creating them. But now with DaVinci Resolve 16, there's a lot of other tools that makes it a little more realistic for me to be able to add those features in to these titles. So here is this one. We'll just take a quick look at that. We can see it animates on, moves around a little bit. There's different things going on, and they all do something a little bit different, but for the most part, it's like glitchy. You have some accent colors, and they do a couple of different things. Like this one has, I believe, this is the one that has the box, if I'm not mistaken. If we get something to render here. Okay, so that's not the one with the box. That one also has, let's see here. What is this one? So this is one of the boxes. This was a cool experiment because this box actually draws on. So it goes around and it draws on, right? But the cool thing that makes this box unique is that we can change the size of it still. So even though it draws like that, we can change how wide it is, how tall it is, and it'll still do that animation where it draws around. And you can change the thickness of the line. You can make it thicker, but it goes around, and then as it goes through here, as you can see, it starts to like really glitch out. Let's see if we can find it with it. There you go. Starting to break up and get that like glitchy-ish effect. So that's it. Pack of 8. In the description, there'll be a link to the page, and it also has like a video on the pack itself. So if you're interested in that, you can take a look at that. Like I said, it's only a pack of 8. They are some of them are a little heavier on rendering. As you can see, this one wasn't so bad. Some of them are a little more heavy. And over the upcoming months, I'll look into if there are ways to make them a little more lightweight and easier to render. But the cool thing with DaVinci Resolve is if you have everything set up correctly with the caching, everything's set up here. Let's say I have my title, I have my color, everything looks great. I can still move this around and not be concerned with, oh, is that cache there or not, because it's all right there. So that's a really cool thing that DaVinci Resolve 16 has now with the caching. So that's the first pack. So the next pack I wanted to show you is the Essential Graphics pack, and that one is really cool. There's a lot of different things in there. So that is a Nebula Graphics Essentials. So we have an info card. So if we take a look at this, it's just like an info card where you could put some information about it, about whatever it is. Like this could be about the fight, or I could take this one, and then it will be like about one of the boxers or something like that. But just an easy way to have something pop up, and you can put a little bit of information in there about what's going on in the frame. And then these are really cool. I really like these because it makes it very simple. So like, let's say you have someone on your show or whatever that is on Instagram. Boom, it's a title that you can just drop right on your edit page. It has the logo in here. You can put in a name, right? And then let's say that the box isn't big enough, you can make the box bigger, and all of the animation. So when it animates on and when it animates off, whatever you have set here, you don't have to worry about keyframes or none of that. It'll be on, and then at the end, it'll animate off. Let's go back a little bit. So you'll have the animate off. Let's say the 5 seconds isn't enough. Well, you can just drag the end of it, pull it out to whatever you want, and everything will sit there until the end. And so that's that. I have it for a couple of different, like I also have YouTube, I have Twitter, I have a couple of different ones. I know that there's a ton of different like little things here and there. If there's something that's really big that is necessary and a lot of people are asking for it, I can add it into the pack, but that's currently what I have going on. I have a bunch of different titles in here, so if you don't have any like creative titles and you need some titles in here, I have these. So this one just opens up. A little guy that goes across the top. Whoa, what happened there? Goes across the top. And then as it gets to the end here, it's not caching right now, but as it gets to the end there, it has like little elements that go off. So the cool thing is, let's say we come into here, let's get some of these elements showing up. The title, so the bottom title, so like normally have like someone's name, and then you have like a title or a description for the person. This color here, so if we change this color to red, now if we look at those little elements, the one will be red, and you also have the ability to change the background color, and the background color is the other color. So if I go like this, now I look at it, now we have those colors. Don't pick this color set because this looks terrible, but that's how that works. So we have a couple of lower thirds, and then we also have actual titles, and they all have different animations on the page. I also have videos on these different titles, and so you can get an idea of every animation. I just wanted to quickly go over these. With all of these, you can also pull the ends of them. We keep the animation at the beginning, and at the end we have that animating off. Now this is a cool one because a lot of the other transitions that I've made in the past were all you had to go into Fusion and mess with different nodes. I have a couple here. Now this is just like an overall pack so that people have some tools to work with. It's not going to meet everyone's needs, but they are some that you could work with. So I have these transitions that you can put over, and so like, let's say I just want it to be 1 second, right? On a 1 second transition, I can bring it in, and then right here, I'll just make sure it's in the middle. And the idea here is that you just want to make sure that the whole screen is covered. And that now we have an animation that goes over if the whole thing caches. That'll be like a little transition, right? So there you go. And then if we come to the middle, we have a couple of different colors here that we can go through and change. And I have a bunch here on the page. You can go there and look to see what you want. And then also I have, so if you ever need to do like a shout out to someone on Twitter, or if you're mentioning something that was on Twitter, I have both one with the check mark and one without the check mark. For these, I thought afterwards, after creating these, I was like, man, these are a little big. But one simple thing that you can do is you can just come in, zoom it back just a little bit, and then just move this to whatever you want. And now you have a smaller little guy that might, let's see, full screen. I think that would actually look pretty, it would look fine, right? So you have that. Clicking on here, we have the name. So that's normally like whatever someone's name is. And then we have their username, which is the @, and then whatever would be in the tweet. So you have that. Just a simple, easy way to like say, oh, this was a tweet, get the point across. The last thing that I skipped over, if you guys didn't see this, is a lot of people were asking me for a subscribe button. So now I made you guys a subscribe button. So as you see, we have a subscribe button. The button goes up, it gets clicked. And as you'll tell, when it gets clicked, it changes colors, right? So if I look in here, I have a pre-click and a post-click. One of the new things that they added to YouTube is now in your on your subscribe button, you normally have how many subscribers you have, right? And the other thing too is you might have to come in here if you're from another country and your whole community is from that other country. You might want to put in a different however subscribe is written in the language that is native to you. You can write that in here, and then if it's longer, shorter, as you can see now with me putting the 40K, it doesn't really fit. So all you have to do is just grab this and make this a little bit bigger, just like that other box with the Instagram and that. All of these, because you can't keyframe this, I have it all set up so that the animations will be perfect no matter what size you change this to. So we have it goes up, it clicks, and then it just starts to disappear. If you want it to be up longer, same thing, you just drag it, make it longer, then it'll render out. So we can change the color here of the text. You can obviously change the color of the button, and then come in here, and then after it's clicked, you can change the color of that, change what it says. And you could actually use this for anything. If there's a button you want someone to click, like buy now or whatever, you could use it for that. So there is that. So that's pretty much the Essentials pack. You can take a look at it. I have a whole video going over how to use it, but what I said here is pretty much that. So the next one, I wanted to create film credits. So like the scrolling credits you have at the end, and a couple others. So I'll quickly go over the pack that I made for this. It's just clean film credits. So I have a bunch of different ones in here. Let's just grab the first one here. And as you can see, these are just normal titles. So like think about the beginning of like a film or something like that, and you would have a title. So it's just like all of the others that I've been going over. You have the top and the bottom. You can change a couple of things, and then you can also make them longer so that the animation lasts longer. These are on the lighter end of everything. These are lightweight. And let's just grab another random one. So same sort of deal. As you can see, these come in and then they start to get smaller and they go out. Same sort of thing. So coming down to, let's do like sort of the traditional credits that you would see. So let's grab this, come into the middle. So this is like our cast. So we have our cast. Over here we have the category. So if you're not doing cast and you're doing something else, like something in production, you could write that. You can change the position of it. And then we have the actual names here. The cool thing that I like to do is I use Google Sheets. So here is my Google Sheets. I have the different roles that they had for the film and then the names. So like, let's say I just want to do the names. So I'm just going to click here, Control C to copy it. When you see the ant trail, then you know it's copied. Then come into here, Control V to paste it. Bam, I have all of them. Now the next thing that I would do is come to the end, excuse me, one frame right before the end. And then I would just take this end control and go all the way up just at the end, right? And what that's going to do is it'll remap everything so that at the beginning, it's going to be down there. And by the end, it's going to be all the way up there. Now, if I was to play this, what you might see over this 5-second period of time is these might be going way too quick, right? So all you would have to do is just like everything else that you've been seeing, you just grab the end, make it longer. Obviously, you want it to be over a longer period of time, so we make it longer. And now these will scroll a bit slower, right? So that's how we would do that. I have another one for if we have two. So let's just go into both of these. Let's say I have two names. Boom. I can shift them. So if they're not centered, so if people have like really long names, you can shift them. Here it's kind of difficult to see. On the single one, it was a bit easier to see. And then the spacing between the two columns, if you want to, you can also go like negative in here as well, if you wanted to get closer. So there is a lot of control. We also have that end control here, so that, you know, at the end or wherever ours ends, we can move this up so it matches. And then we have another one. This one's for like roles. So like we had in here, we have like what they were doing for that film, and then we have their name. So let's come over here. So let's say I have our name, and then we'll copy all of our roles and we'll bring it into here and we'll paste that. And now we have the job that they had, and we also have their name. So let's go all the way to the end, and then boom, now we have this all set up, and it'll scroll through, change the fonts, same thing here, change that top, and there you go. The other one that's a little bit different is companies. So sometimes you will have like a company that'll be a part of your project, and maybe you have to like say thank you to them, right? So let me show you how that would work. So we come into here, and let's say company one, this is going to be this position. We can turn on and off to see which one it is. And then we can come down to here and we can grab their logo. So like, let's say this is their logo. Boom, add it. Their logo's added now. I can change the size of their logo. If I want their logo to be closer to, you know, this here, there we go. Now we have their logo added in here. Everything's buttery smooth. And if it needs to be longer, we can, you know, pull this end out and make it longer if we need to adjust. But you'll also see that there's a lot of others in here. So we can come into the other ones and we can turn them all on as well. So the really cool thing that you can do, let's say you wanted just 2 at the top and maybe 3 at the bottom, right? So I can remove that, and then let's put a third one down here. So now we have that. We have our top spacing and our bottom spacing. So our top spacing is going to open them up. So if we put a negative like 1, and then maybe bring this in. So now I can have 2 up here and maybe 3 down here. And we have the spacing for the bottom as well. But then on top of that, we can also have the spacing between these two. And if you needed to get closer, you could just put a negative in there and then it'd be closer. So I thought that this was pretty cool. Previously, I've never really had media getting added into a title like this, and I thought that this was a really cool way of doing that. So yeah, there's that. And then at the top we have that as well. For these minis, we actually need some footage. So let's just grab some footage here. And these minis are just like the previous ones, but now they're smaller and they're on the side here. So let's just grab and let me show you what this looks like. And we will also need to change the sizing of this to like something a bit smaller. And then there we go. Now all the spacing here is going to be perfect spacing. The other thing too that I didn't say is in my Google Sheets, I have like the art department, and there's 2 people in the art department for this. So I left this blank because in credits that's what you would do for it. And then down here, special effects, I have a ton of people. Each one of these spaces will always be represented here as well. As long as you're doing it this way, it'll always be represented. And then we can come to the end of this on here. Oops. Come to the end of this and move this up to the top. So like that. And then through this whole thing, we will have it going through. So that's how we would go about doing that. The same thing here, we can pull the end. Sound like a broken record talking about that, but there is that. And then we also have these like company ones. So if you were to do something, say like, oh, this is a blank production. If you don't want it in the middle of the screen, just click this little button and we can move this to wherever we want. There is an animation on here. The thing that I did with this is, let's say your company name is really big, right? I have this spacing here so we can space out A and production. So we can have both of those. And we can also change the font on our company there as well. So there is that. And then these are just other credits. I have a whole video going over them, but yep. So yeah, I have a whole video going over this. This pack has 20 titles in it. But yeah. The last one I've had on my site for a while now, but for those who haven't seen it, I'll show this one to you as well. It's a wedding pack, and this one has 12 titles. And with this one, it's the same as the other ones as well, with having, it's kind of difficult to see on this really bright, but having the ability to drag it out and make it longer. These have an animation to them. It's kind of growing these. But these also have a couple of like unique little settings in here as well. So we have our different elements that we can shut off, right? And then we have this wiggle. So when you're looking at this, as it's going through here, we can see that everything is slightly wiggling, right? And that, I think that's a pretty cool, way to give like a drawn look or like a handcrafted look. But if you don't want it, you can just shut it off and everything will just be static throughout this whole thing. But I do have the other thing in there to give that like wiggle a look. And there's a ton of different styles in here to do all sorts of different things. As you can see, this even has like rings in here. You can come in here and turn the rings off. If you don't want the rings, you turn the squares off. But I wanted to, give all of these different features here that I thought were really cool. But yeah, I just wanted to show you these couple of like different features because these are all like new way. It's like a new way of making these packs and introducing a lot of different things in here, and just instead of just having like plain titles, really upping it a bit and offering a lot of different like features in there and different types of animations for these pre-made little guys. So there is that. So that's what I've been working on. That's roughly 68 titles split between 4 different packs. I know this isn't going to work for everyone's project. I know everyone, films and edits completely different things, but that's what I've been working on. Over time, I'll definitely be adding a lot more products to the site, but that's what I've got for now. With DaVinci Resolve 16, being a full release now, you can use this code on my website to get 15% off these packs over the next week. That's me thanking you guys for sticking with me, and happy that, Blackmagic has finally come out with 16. I actually thought that they were going to give me a little more time. I thought it wasn't going to be till like mid this month, next month sort of thing, but hey, it's better sooner than later or whatever, So now I can start making different content on this. It's still going to be kind of weird. Do I make it on the DaVinci Resolve 16.1 or do I keep it just on DaVinci Resolve 16? Not really sure yet. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Also, let me know what you think about my new title packs. I really appreciate your honest opinion on them. But with that being said, thanks for watching. My name's JR. Have a good one.